Hi everybody, my name is Plama Rusif. I'm chairperson of e-Academy, organizer of Webit Business and Marketing Exhibition for Central and Eastern Europe, the biggest event for the region and one of the biggest in Europe. And why? Because we have maybe some of the brightest professionals worldwide, and especially in Europe, and I'm honored to present you now my guest from Mindshare, Johnston, the digital leader of Mindshare, global digital leader of Mindshare. Could you please tell me what is this?
Basically, I like the brightest comment as well. You've now set me up that I have to say something intelligent. So it basically is looking after all of our global digital capabilities throughout the world, advising clients on what to do when it comes to digital, opening up new capabilities, supporting the offices. So really anything with the D word in it, I somehow touch it wherever it may be.
Actually, it sounds quite global, so that's why I've asked you, because you don't see it on the business cards of the other people. But I've opened the discussion, which we were there together with the presentation of Norm, who has quite a long story with digital himself. I think that your business card was connected with digital in the year of 1988. Is that correct?
I've done digital work since 1980. Yes, so back in my days at Anderson Consulting, we did some of the initial. It wasn't the internet, but it was digital. It was a dial-up system at the time, like AOL used to be, and CompuServe. So I've been doing it for a long time. And then when the internet properly took off in '95, I joined an agency called Modem Media, which put the first banner on the internet. So they actually were responsible for all this madness. And the guy who hired me was the guy who defined the original IAB standards, if you can imagine that. And it's been a long, fun ride ever since then. Not always fun, I should say, but fun for most of the time. And lots of great stuff over the years.
Mindshare is agency number 1 according to Ad Age for 1987. I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to ask you the questions about the digital now. So please tell me, how do you see the markets? Which markets are you responsible? How do you compare the Western markets to the Eastern markets in terms of digital advertising development and your predictions? So too many questions, but I hope you can answer all of them.
I think it really depends on where you are. And if you're in Spain, for example, at the moment you're not in a good place, whether you're in digital or traditional. In Spain, for example, a huge drop in GDP, huge drop in advertising spend, a drop in digital, not as much as the overall drop in advertising spend. But you know, I think they've suffered as a result of the overall economy, the overall drop in advertising spend. When you look at the U.S. market and Western Europe next year, we still expect a decline in overall media spend. Single-digit drops next year versus double-digit drops that we projected for this year. So the business is still not in great shape, as my boss's boss will tell you, Martin Sorrell. Having said that, when we look at some of the markets, some of the clients, they've really held firm to digital budgets. I mean, they've cut elsewhere. They've cut within mainly print, but also in television to some extent, and they've held steady, if not increased, their digital spend. Display area is a little bit slower than in areas like search and social, so it depends on what area of digital you're talking about. But in terms of Central and Eastern Europe, we're projecting an increase next year. You've been hit, I believe it's a drop of 16% overall in media spend in 2009, and we're projecting an overall increase in media spend of around 4% in 2010. And within that number, we believe digital will be very strong. So I think digital is in a very good place within Eastern Europe. And then the real drivers in our business right now are the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And we're seeing really strong growth in most of those markets, although Russia has had a very difficult time over the last year, primarily because of the economy, again, has really suffered as a result of of oil and gasoline prices dropping.
e-Academy, the company organizing Webit, the mission is to develop the market, creating e-educated people around the region. And we're doing it for 2 years. That's why we've created this event, so we have the face of the industry of the region. But what is the role of the media agency in development, in the market development?
Well, I think it's
how important it is.
It's critical, because if the media agency is not pushing the clients to make the right decisions, they will hold back the industry overall. And yeah, I think my agency overall is very progressive in their viewpoint of where things are going, not just on increasing digital spend, but also looking at other ways of ensuring that whatever content you create is compelling and shared and accessible in search engines. So it's broader than just the paid aspect. We're also looking at the owned and earned as well. But I think within a market like Bulgaria or some of the other markets, as an industry, if we're not coming together, if we're not educating the brands, and if the media agencies are not behind that and endorsing that, I think they won't turn back the tide of where things are going. It's going to continue to grow, regardless of what they say. I can assure you that much. But B, they'll drag it a little bit. They'll slow down the natural growth a little bit. And I do think in some markets, I mean, I come from a digital-only agency, Moda Media, and our job was to give the big guys a hard time and rough them up a little bit. And my job now in Mindshare is to make sure that we're pushing our clients and not waiting for the digital independent agencies to come along and do that on our behalf. So I do think they play a really important role.
So how much is the, you're a good example, so you open this topic, I wish to continue. What is going now on the digital market? Are digital agencies somehow stepping back, opening space for traditional advertising agencies, which are now opening their digital departments? What is going on? I have a perfect impression from UK, where the pitches for digital agencies for last year decreased by about 19 to 20%, due to the fact that the big traditional advertising agencies step on the digital market. So is this a trend, or it's just the market setting up now, or what are your predictions?
I think the market's matured. I think if you look at most of the bigger traditional agencies, not all of them, but a lot of them, they've built up very good digital capabilities. And I think they've done that because for pure business reasons. I mean, that's the area of growth, and I think they realized they were vulnerable without it. So either via acquisition or organically, they've built up very good capabilities. And I think the other aspect that we're seeing is a more mature view of how digital fits into the overall holistic plans that a client is striving for. And I think historically, when digital spend was so low, some of these independent shops came in and saw that as an opportunity to fill that void. And in the UK in particular, where the digital spend levels have now surpassed TV, I think the clients want a more balanced view of how these things best work together. And as I was saying earlier, for example, we know from running television spots that there's a huge spike in online traffic and search traffic in particular. So how do you best get those things to work together in a very complementary way is critical. And most of, if not all, the digital specialist agencies don't have that expertise in some of the offline areas. So it's becoming much more digitally centric. The media agencies have built up those capabilities, but ironically, the ability now to manipulate the offline media to get people into the online environment as a hub is becoming more critical.
Thank you. It was an honest answer.
I only give honest answers.
But yeah, there will be thousands of digital companies, interactive companies, because this market is full of them, because of the fact that it's not united. So there are lots of people having their small companies, bigger, etc. They'll all be interested in this. So the way you projected it is, yeah, maybe in the future they have to work as subcontractors or something else to the biggest.
Well, not necessarily.
This is how you see it?
Not necessarily. They should be proud of what they're doing, and I think they can be a critical part of a bigger agency in the future, or they can develop. There's some agencies that are actually hiring offline people and bringing in offline into the capability. And the other thing too is it constantly changes. So I'd say right now some of the digital agencies that are well known in the UK market have been completely caught off guard by social marketing. So in essence, what they did to the traditional agencies is now happening to them by these new agencies, which are completely focused on the social marketing area. And then you have mobile, which is also coming along as well. So it's a constantly evolving picture, and I just think you need to be innovative, you need to be smart, you need to know when you can fight alone and when you need to have an ally. And there's For example, the UK government is pitching at the moment in the UK. I was going to say our country, but I'm not English. And it's the biggest.
Even though your accent is English already.
No, it's the biggest media spend in the market. They spend more money than anybody else in the market, which is quite shocking when you think about the taxes and the deficit.
Yeah,
but anyway, and on their roster they have an agency called iLevel, which is a digital-only agency, and iLevel has had to go partner with Starcom for the pitch because they had to have the offline component as well as the online in order to properly compete. So there's many different ways this can play out, and I think if you're a smart business person, you just need to think about where your future is going to be and how you want to configure something that's going to be innovative and compelling as the landscape changes.
So last question concerning social media. In social media, when you're interesting, you don't pay for your exposure.
Yes.
If you're interested, you got the attention of the audience. So how do you think it will change the digital landscape in terms of advertising and branding?
Well, I think it is already, and I think it's something we've always known. I mean, the thing about the internet is, you know, I shake my head at every conference because it's the same sort of things that happened years ago in just very different ways. I mean, the concept of advocacy and user-generated content is not necessarily a new one. It's just that it's just become more and more important as various factors have come into play. So I think it's a very important element. I would say that the thing that we're seeing is that earned media on its own does not work as well as earned and paid media put together. So if you're a social marketing agency coming in just to do the earned media part, I'm sure there's some very good ones out there. To me, it's, again, being able to manage that entire ecosystem of paid and earned and owned together, not necessarily executing on each and every bit of it, but managing it, I think is really what we see clients looking for.
Norm, appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure to be here.